The best game ever made. Your mind might immediately shoot across the galaxy to Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5, God of War, Resident Evil 4, Portal 2, and so many other unbelievable titles. Now cast your mind over the best VR games of all time. It's a lot more tricky, right? Well, that's okay, and that's why I'm here. Now, like me, if you're a beginner or a newcomer to VR as a medium, I'm almost certain that you are unsure of what games to play, and you might even want to return your headset due to a lack of games. Well, today, I'm here to run you guys through every game which should be considered as a must-play title, while I explore the fundamental things for a video game to be granted the title of GOAT, or more commonly known for complete noobs and the uneducated, pretty freaking brilliant games. Now, just before we begin, I need to quickly jump in and ask you to subscribe. It really helps keep this channel churning, and as a personal thank you, I'll feature your name in one of the upcoming videos where I shout out all my new subscribers. Okay, now let's begin with the basics. A great VR game needs to deliver a captivating and immersive experience that leverages the unique capabilities of virtual reality technology. Here are some essential elements that contribute to making a VR game great. Immersive graphics and audio. The game should have a high quality graphics, whether that's massive cartoon butts, or the gruesome death of a complete unloved delinquent. It just has to make sense. I'm not sure that sentence made sense. But continuing the theme of sense, it must also have a realistic audio source that effectively transports players into the virtual world. This helps create a sense of presence and immersion, making players feel like they're truly inside the game environment. It also must have intuitive controls and interaction. That's my second point. Intuitive and responsive controls are crucial in VR games, so you don't go groping things that you later find you can't grope. The controls should mimic real-world actions as closely as possible, allowing players to interact with the virtual world naturally. Virtual reality vacations are great until you realise you're still in your pyjamas and your beach is just a sandbox. On the topic of sand, and well, boxes, sandbox games are a great example of this, like Battle Talent, Boneworks and Bone Lab, but more about them later. My third criteria is the engaging gameplay. A great VR game should offer compelling gameplay that takes advantage of the unique possibilities of VR. Whether it's exploring new worlds, solving puzzles, engaging in combat, or experiencing narrative-driven stories, the gameplay should be engaging and tailored for the VR experience. Fourth is presence and immersion. VR's main strength is its ability to create a sense of presence. A great VR game should make players feel like they are truly present in the game world. This can be achieved through realistic visuals, physics, interactivity, and a strong feeling of being inside the game.
Oh my, what?
5, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. Varied environments and interactions. A diverse range of environments, interactions, and experiences can keep players engaged and excited. Offering different settings, challenges, and interactions can prevent the gameplay from becoming repetitive. Honestly, I think this is the most important thing for me in a VR game, and I'll talk about games which I think do this effectively later. Okay, the last thing, compelling storytelling, if applicable. For narrative-focused VR games, a well-crafted story that takes advantage of the immersive nature of VR can greatly enhance the overall experience. Basically, we want to prevent this scenario.
Oh hey guys, what are we doing in this super sus world in VR?
I don't know, but this guy is really polite and he's a well-spoken man.
He's just dropped a portal. Let's go through. I'm sure it's not anything hateful. Oh, for fuck.
Yeah, so basically, if you don't want to be hurtling towards two certain large and concrete buildings after entering a stupid VR chat portal, I'd recommend not discounting the importance of a strong and good story. The ability to be physically present within the story world can make the narrative more impactful and not hateful.
Okay, go for it, go. Okay.
Oh, what's going on?
I brought that back up. I will cook you.
You silly. Okay, right. Now let's finally move on to some games. Oh, that was meant to be like a funny Jimmy Jim Jim kind of situation, but it just kind of fell so hard on its face. I think I just actually like threw up a little bit. You know when it's like acidic in your... So the games. First, let's talk about shooter games. They were in the thumbnail after all. Pavlov, Onward, and Contractors are known as the Big Three. Ooh. Yeah, so I think that warrants me putting them together as one. We do have other multiplayer big boy bang bang shoot gun and other small children kind of games like Roblox. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Games like Breaches and Veil, but I think they're all so similar in terms of gameplay mechanics and storytelling, because there is no storytelling, that I can go harness my chi and put them all neatly in one little box, kick them into a, yeah, they're all pretty decent games category. Please don't ostracize me from the VR community for that. And if you're a beginner at VR, let me tell you something. I need to tell you something. Play Pavlov Shag. It's free on the Quest 2, and it's just as good as all the others I've mentioned. But if you disagree with me here, go cry. Quick positives and negatives of these shooters is that 1. They're actually hilarious to play with friends. 2. They are shooter games, so that's kinda cool I guess. And 3. They have unbelievable mod support, so basically it's the communities propping these games up at this point. The negatives, however, are as follows. While these are the games I grew up on and I love, they don't have any variety in the gameplay, as it's basically a shoot big boy water pistol that makes loud vine boom sound. Secondly, they aren't story driven games, which I actually think does hinder the game's ranking. Sure, they are replayable, but I think that's only because you can't finish them in the first place. Moving on to sandbox titles, to be honest, there are 2 titles which absolutely dominate this space in VR, like dominate. I'm of course talking about Battle Talent and Physics Playground. No, I'm not. Stress Level Zero's children, Boneworks and Bone Lab. They're absolutely unbelievable games and 100% must-buys for pretty much every VR user. I can't recommend these titles enough. Well, Bone Lab, I probably could. It's meant to be this insane sequel to its older brother Boneworks, but it fell flat in quite a few too many places and is now very hated. Just like I'm gonna be after this next sentence. I don't think Boneworks is the best game of all time. It's pretty flipping good, don't get me wrong, but it's just not, in my opinion. Let me explain my very tiny brain. So, criteria 1, engaging gameplay. It checks this box with the full force of an RPG. That's a hard yes. But what about criteria 2? Presence and immersion. Well, if you think being able to touch literally everything in the world because every single object has its own physics is immersive, then yeah, that's a hard yes. Okay, well, so far we're absolutely flying. What about criteria 3? Varied environments and interactions. Yup, it defo hits this checkbox so quick it's similar to the local Karen ticking her bingo sheet. The level design and immersive environments bring this game to life. Now, this might be the whack-a-mole, and let's see if we can hammer it down. Criteria 4, compelling storytelling. Yes, the problem child of all VR families. You know, I can see myself in this criteria. Basically, the one problem with this game is the super poor storytelling. It's not cohesive, and I'm pretty thick, so this might not be saying much, but I know none of the lore or anything that was going on until I watched the full explanation video later, so I think that this game absolutely shoots and misses the whack and great checkbox on this one. So where else does our little minds wander then, eh? Well, I think we need to look at some story driven stuff. Lone Echo 1 and 2, Red Matter 1 and 2, and Half-Life Alyx. Well, obviously I need to get some assumptions out of the way. Half-Life Alyx is the best VR game of all time! Yup, I would agree with that. But let's discuss it. The first thing I need to say is for you to go check out this masterpiece of a video going over Half-Life Alyx if you've never seen it before. But after that video, come straight back here. I see you straight here. The second thing I need to say is that this game checks all the boxes, all of them. The story is perfectly adapted to VR, there is no cutscenes or the like, but all information contributing to the story is given in digestible chunks like it would happen in real life. All mechanics are class and the gameplay is super engaging. But enough about why I personally think it's the best VR game of all time, and onto why it's not in many other people's opinions. Basically, I said it in that video and I'll say it again. It's terrifying! So would highly not recommend it if you don't like horror games. However, the other two I mentioned, The Lone Echo and Red Matter series are both set in space and are both home to some of the best graphics on any game ever made. But they are super slow. For instance, Echo has the longest tutorial section you've ever laid your eyeballs on, but Red Matter and Red Matter 2 are awesome and super cool, but they're kind of slow the entire time and require patience to understand the puzzles, so it's definitely not for everyone. But at this point in the video, what section do I have to look to now? Well, we must look at the all-time classics of VR, like Superhot and Beat Saber. Are they amazing games? Certainly. Do they fulfill all the criteria? Nope. Do I care? Mildly. But we'll brush that under the rug, because they are still alive and kicking. Beat Saber is the biggest VR game ever made, and it's clear to see why. But Superhot is also incredible, as it drew so many people into VR. Honestly though, this debate was completely useless. All I wanted was to discuss what you guys might have considered as the best of the best when it comes to virtual reality. I hope you learned something along the way, and if you did, this video might shed some light on a new mod for Half-Life Alyx, which I think is the best VR game of all time. Anyway, lovely to have you. Goodbye!